people were waiting in the water to cross the street. Hey guys, we're back with the Sizzle. I'm John and
Jade. Hello.
and we're talking about everything K-culture, dramas, music, social issues, whatever. Guess what? We're on a little bit of a sad note in this video, but there was a huge flood in Seoul.
Yeah, and it's kind of not over.
and it might not be over.
It's been because I don't know, is it a typhoon? I don't know what's happening.
I think that's what they said. Before, so if you guys don't know, in Eastern Asia in the summertime, it's monsoon season. Monsoon is pretty much a weather system that comes through and the hot and cold air cannot mix. So it produces a lot of rain. And on top of that, there was another storm, a typhoon, which is like big winds. And that brought a lot of heavy rain for the past week.
Yeah.
And it's still,
still going.
It
rained this morning a little bit. And I think everyone...
Every single day.
Every day. And so people are scared. We're just like, is it going to be like Monday? Monday was so bad. And I remember, so I came home and it started raining, and then I was like, it was so hot last week. So I was like, I love it. So I'm walking in the rain. I'm like, I feel so cool finally, because it felt so ridiculously humid and hot. Yeah. So I was like, it's finally a breeze and then rain. And then I got home. I took a shower, and then I'm it's all cozy like a rainy day. And I'm like, oh, it's great outside. And then I look at the news, because I live on a hill. So I can't, so I don't see any flooding or anything. So I was like, oh, it's just fine. It's just a rainy day. Everywhere was so flooded. I had all my friends if they went out earlier in the day, they were stuck at the restaurants. I knew some people who were literally on the table at the restaurant because the water came in through the door. I've never seen anything like that in my life. I'm thinking I've been through so many hurricanes and things, and I've never seen the roads flood.
You grew up on the East Coast, right?
Yeah, I grew up in Washington, D.C. So
do they have hurricanes there?
We have hurricanes, but we don't get the worst of it.
Because it comes up from Florida, right?
Yeah, so sometimes we do, but it's never we have flooding, flash flooding, but I feel even Korea doesn't understand the concept of a flash flood.
Yeah, I feel they weren't prepared for it. They have no idea how to handle this kind of situation.
Yeah, and
that's what it felt like.
It felt because people were in the streets, literally swimming to get anywhere.
If you guys don't know, go to my TikTok. It's literally my name that we pop up for.
You can put it down below.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I have 16,000 people watching that, and when I posted that, and you guys will see that literally the car is floating on the street.
It's every time I saw a different picture, I was like, what? And the power went out in parts of Gangnam. Oh, and Gangnam is, the biggest area, it's the business capital, basically, of Seoul. It's all these big buildings, everything's brand new, but the power went out.
I actually left 9:30 p.m. in Gangnam that night.
Oh
That's
my
how
gosh.
come I know all this.
Oh my God.
When I was leaving, going to the subway station, the cars were it was already flooded up to the top of the wheels of the cars on the street, on the big,
in the intersection?
The Terandero, the big one. And when they're driving by or past, people walking on the sidewalk, it pushed all the water onto the sidewalk. And Gangnam sidewalks are pretty high.
Yeah.
So it was already on there at 9:30. When I got off the subway, that's when you'll see my TikTok where it got so bad near my neighborhood that people were waiting in the water to cross the street. So literally, because my wife was crossing the street near our house, and she told me that she had to do it. It was waist deep, and you're waiting for the light to change. and you're like wading through like a river to get to the other side.
It's not funny, but it's so ridiculous.
It
like
is.
like I can't help but like, well, how did we get here? Where it's like you have to swim to go home. Like you're literally like, and I had my friend. She lives in Gangnam, and she's just like. Because I had called her, I was like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Why?" And then I told her, I was like, "Go look outside your window." And literally, because she lives by the main intersection where the station is, all of that was flooded. And she's like, "Oh." So, but she's like, "But I ordered food." I was like, "Why?"
I think they didn't do a good job warning people this time.
Yeah, no one knew it was coming, and then
yeah. And that was the big issue with the government, with the texts, because usually if something like this happens, everyone gets a text message, emergency text message on their phone. So none of that happened. The government wasn't prepared for this kind of situation, and people died. There were 5 people that died because they were stuck under a basement of a room. And they drowned pretty much. So it is sad.
And because a lot of people have been comparing that to Parasite, because that's literally the scene in Parasite where they're like in the water in the half basement.
Yeah.
And so I heard that the government were like, okay, because of the situation, they're like, we're just gonna phase out basement apartments. They're like, we're gonna get rid of them completely. And I was like, that's not an answer.
That is not an answer because, I mean, obviously they need to figure out how to do precautions and systems. Like, what do people do when it floods? Because it never happens. This is the worst in 100 years, they say.
And so, like, I get that you were off guard, but I feel like you should be looking at the sewer system and all of that. Because I heard, like, people went missing in the sewer. So I don't know like the details for real, but what
do you mean they were missing in the sewer?
So apparently what happened was you know how you have the manholes?
Yeah.
So this is later in the I think this is like Tuesday or Thursday when it started raining again. There was so much pressure in the sewer system.
It pushed it up. Yeah, I saw that.
So the manhole went out. But what happens is it goes back in. It becomes a vacuum. So it sucked people inside, apparently.
Damn, really?
So I'm not sure about that, but that's what I heard. So
that's crazy.
So they were looking
So people were stuck in there.
So they're still looking for people because like of all of these like residual problems that are happening in the city. Like there's like I think the sewers are all flooded. Like you can smell the sewers more this week. More like you can always smell the sewer because they have like the plumbing system in Seoul is not the best. It's from like the 70s and like they haven't redone them yet. And you can usually smell the sewage coming up from the grates. But lately it's been so much worse. Like you can smell it all the time and you can smell from when it flooded how the sewage was on the street. Like, you can smell it in the pavement.
Yeah, if you guys didn't know, we have an article on that, but the make sure you guys check that out, too. But the Tuesday morning, you wrote about that.
Yeah.
And
we thought it was, like, finished, but I feel like...
We thought it was over, but it wasn't over.
There's so much more problems that are happening more and more as more rain happens and more details come out that, like people are calling in like I haven't seen my cousin or whatever, and like we're getting a lot of emergency alerts looking for people, so it's really crazy in Seoul right now.
Yeah, let us know if you ever been to Seoul or experienced flooding. Like, what did your country do? Like how they handle it, because I feel like this time was kind of like a warning. It wasn't that serious, really.
Yeah.
To be honest, it wasn't that bad. There were some viral videos of people on a bus, and the whole bus, they were going through the water, and people were like hanging onto the handrails and then keeping their feet out, and trying to stay above the water. But I just felt like, to be honest, I felt people were pretty calm.
Well, that's why it was really weird because people are just like, all right. We're like, this is happening. And like, I felt like we shouldn't have to go through this. Like, I feel like the city could have did more.
I see.
And that's what was my complaint about it. I was like, I wish that we could have had more of a stronger response, or at least because I felt like a lot of people were just stuck, and like there's not like helicopters checking and
If
things
you guys
like that.
want to learn more about Korea, like Korea is very high tech, but sometimes it's very low tech.
That's what I thought. I was like,
There's a
I
contrast.
thought it was because when New York flooded super bad during I think it was Hurricane Irene or one of them. It was so bad. All the subways were flooded and like people, but they had like people in boats going around checking on people, making sure they were okay. Even like neighbors were like doing that, and I felt like that everyone was like trying to get safely to your house more than it was like checking on everybody. And the family who passed away, the neighbor checked on them, and that's why.
That's how they found them.
And that's how they found them. And that's why I was like, this shouldn't be happening. So I hope that we learn from this, and like we don't have to go through any of these flooding problems again.
I feel like if there's some sort of warning or just to let people know, like avoid this area or what to do. I think people didn't know what to do, but
yeah, I think it was more like
they like people just did whatever they could, whatever they were doing. I had no idea how bad my neighborhood was. Good thing I live on a hill, because after you pass that intersection, like it starts becoming a lot more normal. Like just a heavy rain road.
Right. It's just, it was spots that were really bad, and then some that were not. And so a lot of people were like, how did Gangnam, that area, like that was the big question the next day. Like, why did that area flood so bad?
Because it's originally lower than the Han River. So everything on above the Han River, you guys don't know, Seoul is cut by the Han River north and south. And Gangnam means south of the river. So whatever was south of Han River is what got flooded. So everyone living north of the river was fine.
Yeah, they didn't have any problems.
So, but the problem is the geography of the city is lower. So everything is lower. So my friend from the U.S. actually was here for 2 months, and he asked me, he's like, why don't we divert the water into the river? I'm like, that doesn't work because it'll come back.
Yeah.
Because it's the bottom of the city it's like lower than the river, so everything, if the Han River gets flooded, all the water is going to come back into Gangnam.
I think the only, like, you can make, you know how they have the artificial stream in Jongro? They can do something like that, maybe, but I feel like that would be so expensive to do, to go from the river and then, like, have the water go that way and then go, because, the Han River goes down into Gyeonggi. So if you can do it like that, maybe, but it's like there's a lot of engineering that has to go on to fix this problem, because I feel like as we deal with global warming, we're going to have more of these kind of situations.
So let us know, what do you guys think of this situation? What would you have done if you were in our situation? And what are some suggestions that you might have for people that live in areas that flood a lot? That kind of thing. So make sure you guys check out our article on that. It gives you more detail, number-wise, and what's going on in Seoul right now.
All right, so please let us know down below what you have any thoughts, and we'll see you next time.
안녕!